Let's start the big story with a big number, 5 million. That's the number of doses administered 2 days into government's national vaccine drive. The output falls short of the government's target to administer 3 million jabs daily during the 3-day campaign.
With this, the government has now extended the inoculation drive until Friday. This is apart from the second round of the program slated for December 15 to 17. To further ramp up vaccination, the Interior Department says local governments now have the prerogative to make vaccination mandatory. Good evening, I'm Maricel Halili.
I'm Robbie Alampa. You're watching The Big Story. Several local governments are now taking it upon themselves to improve vaccination rates in their areas. They're now requiring the inoculation of their constituents.
Health officials and the Interior Department are backing the move, saying it's well within the LGUs' right to make such mandates. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro gives us a front seat to the big story.
Bogged down by vaccine hesitancy and the threat of a new COVID variant, local government units have started enforcing mandatory vaccinations in their areas. Governor Mamintal Adyong said Lanao del Sur is considering passing an ordinance requiring residents to get jabbed.
Pwede naman kasi pwede naman natin dahil niya sa ordinance ng provincial government, ipabasa sa mga munisipyo para maging mandatory.
In Iligan, Mayor Celso de Gencia issued an executive order preventing unvaccinated people from using public utilities or going to public places or transacting businesses with government. The health department is already backing these local moves.
Yes, that is the only way na magbakuna lahat kasi alam mo naman ang direktiba ng presidente, no one should be left behind.
Earlier, Interior Undersecretary Eduardo Año told LGUs they have the option to pass ordinances to impose mandatory vaccinations, Section 16 of the Local Government Code. States' local chief executives can use their powers to promote health and safety. Government's 3-day national vaccination push has fallen below targets, so far bagging only 5 million jabs out of the targeted 9 million. But the government still considers this as a win, as usual daily average is less than 1 million. Lanao del Sur Governor Adyong says vaccine willingness in their area has improved but many are still hesitant.
Yeah, marami pa rin. Nakakahiyahan sabihin pero naniniwala pa rin sila sa mga fake news.
To combat this, the government has offered different incentives, making the day an employee got the jab a paid vacation leave. Problem is, for many people, it's more tempting to go to work on a holiday.
May mga feedback din na they work because it was double pay.
Government plans to make another vaccination push, with round 2 of the Bayanihan Bakunahan tentatively scheduled from December 15 to 17. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro, we are One News.
Is national government just passing the buck to LGUs on crafting such mandates? That big question and more with Interior Undersecretary Ipimako Densing. Undersecretary Densing, welcome to the big story.
Hi Robbie, hi Maricel, and good evening to all.
Sir, how can LGUs do this if there is no national law that can mandate vaccination?
For local government codes, the local government code provides that in Section 16, which is the General Welfare Clause, can actually pass resolutions or ordinances that will benefit the general welfare of their respective constituency. So it can be a way of mandating vaccination on a piecemeal basis.
Yes, on the other hand, you do have some laws like RA 11525. That one explicitly states you don't need vaccine cards, for example, as a requirement for employment. So how does this go around that?
That's it. What is important is what is the substance of the ordinance. We have to make sure that while there is a mandate for everybody to be vaccinated in a specific local government unit, as long as it does not violate the Republic Act 11525, which is the national vaccination law, then they can do so. They can actually require a vaccination without necessarily violating the general law itself.
Doesn't this, in effect, basically just give government a cover to implement a de facto policy on a national level, given that they cannot actually do that they might even run afoul, never mind laws, but the Constitution?
Well, there are proposals already to pass a law. If I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's a bill filed in the House of Representatives to mandate or to make it mandatory for everybody to get vaccinated. And again, once that law has moved from its first reading, we can already see and how the Congress will talk about it in detail, whether or not there is such a violation of the Constitution if we make vaccination mandatory to everybody.
Yes, but doesn't that precisely make the point, sir? If there is a bill pending in Congress, isn't that Congress and the national government acknowledging that a law is needed for this?
Yes, a law is needed if you want everybody to be vaccinated. And that's why I'm saying on a piecemeal basis, depending on the appreciation of the local government units, they can pass by themselves respective ordinances as long as it does not violate Republic Act 525.
Okay, Undersecretary Densing, maraming salamat po. That was DILG Undersecretary Ipimako Densing. The slow rollout of vaccines in the Philippines is at the heart of why the country remains dead last in Bloomberg's resiliency ranking. For the third straight month, the country still ranks 53rd in the said index for the month of November. The Philippines received a resilience score of 43.1. That lags behind all economies in the study. In its indicator, Bloomberg said the Philippines has only given 73.2 doses per 100 people. While acknowledging that Bloomberg's data may help the country in its response, presidential spokesperson Carlo Nograles says the study could have been more country-specific. He said the Philippines was able to implement key interventions to manage COVID-19 risks while allowing room for economic growth.
These are the other big stories tonight. Traffic remains slow even as the number coding scheme is reimposed in Metro Manila beginning today. A day after announcing his withdrawal, Senator Bongo still made the rounds in Mandaluyong, but he remains firm. There's no more gunning for the presidency. And tech giant Google is banning political ads on their platforms during the country's election season. These big stories after the break.
Marlene? Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Maricel Halili. Based on latest MMDA data, vehicle volume in Metro Manila is already close pre-pandemic numbers.
This has prompted the agency to re-implement the number coding scheme starting today. Let's get the latest from Marlene Alcaide. She's reporting live from Mandaluyong. Marlene, kamusta ang traffic?
Yes, Robbie, Maricel, we are here along EDSA northbound in Mandaluyong, and motorists are experiencing moderate to heavy traffic along EDSA northbound despite the return of the number coding scheme. This as the MMDA revived the number coding scheme in Metro Manila starting today. JR, a tour services driver, was scheduled to pick up a client in Pasig. But with the number coding scheme already in place in NCR, he chose to park in a gasoline station instead.
Tatawag nga po kay boss kung paano gagawin ko eh. Kasi nga po, kukoding na po ngayon eh. Nag-ano po, alas 5. Kaya po, para po malaman ko paano gagawin yung diskarte.
A doctor meanwhile argued with the traffic enforcer when he was flagged down for violating the coding scheme.
Sir, ang kailangan ko lang makapunta sa doktor kayo? No problem. We can talk about this. Ang ano lang natin, kalma lang tayo.
Other drivers used the coding hours to rest.
Pag tapos na yung oras, pabalik na upang. Papahinga na lang.
Papahinga na lang.
Opo.
Kung hindi lang talagang importante yung ating lakad, i-adjust na lang po yung oras.
The modified coding scheme will be implemented on weekdays from 5 to 8 p.m. except on holidays. Private vehicles with plates ending in 1 and 2 are prohibited on Monday, 3 and 4 on Tuesday, 5 and 6 on Wednesday, 7 and 8 on Thursday, 9 and 0 on Friday. The MMDA decided to re-implement the policy as vehicle volume nears pre-pandemic level at 403,000 per day.
Ito pong 5 to 8 p.m. ay ang takbo po ng traffic, lalong-lalo na sa EDSA, ay nasa mahigit 9 kilometers an hour na lang po sa mga oras na to, which is the same na po halos ng pre-pandemic level.
Public utility vehicles, motorcycles, garbage trucks, fuel trucks, and vehicles carrying essential and perishable goods are exempted from the policy. TNVS riders or those offering ride-hailing services are also exempted. Grab officials have met with the MMDA to discuss how they may identify private vehicles from TNVS.
Ano yung sticker na ilalagay, ano yung size, and kung saan ilalagay yung mga stickers na to para madali rin nilang makita. At the same time, hindi rin mahirapan yung mga drivers natin sa paglalagay ng mga stickers na to at hindi rin siguro nakakasagabal sa kanilang pagmamaneho. Yun yung tinitignan pa natin kung paano natin siya magagawa talaga. Yung QR code.
That's the latest here in Mandaluyong. Robbie, Maricel.
Maraming salamat, Marlene Alcaide. Now, while activity seems to be slowly going back to normal in NCR, that's not the case for far-flung areas where vaccination remains sluggish. In Surigao, frontliners had to travel long and hard just to make sure everyone gets access to that COVID jab. Mon Gualvez with their story.
Inside these cooler boxes are COVID-19 jabs. These shots will be making their way to 21 island barangays in Surigao, many kilometers and hours away from Surigao City, including Nonok Island. About 45 minutes away from the city proper, medical personnel only reached the island thrice since the vaccination program started.
Yung challenges lang po talaga is yung aming weather, kasi hindi po natatansya kung kailan maganda. Kasi yung wave ng dagat is risky pa talaga.
The good news is, the barangay is now nearing 70% of their target for inoculation.
Dahil tipid po sila sa gasto. Sa pamasahe lang po nila papunta ng Surigao City at pabalik. Saka yung transportation po dito sa amin, iisang biyahe lang.
We also went to mountainous barangay Maningalaw in Las Nieves, Agusan del Norte. It took us 2 hours to travel from the town proper. Sadly, many residents are still afraid to get vaccinated.
Bakit po? Ano po ba dati ang pangamba ninyo?
Baga mapatay kami. Ngayon, na-desisyon na mabuti.
Kasi naririnig ko magiging zombie daw.
To engage residents, nurses printed information brochures in Bisaya.
More on education kami, nagbabahay-bahay kami. Yung pag-explain sa kanila kung bakit natin kailangan to. Kasi pag nandito na talaga sa area na to, yung mga liblib, wala naman masyadong signals.
Despite the vaccine hesitancy and challenges with accessibility, the Caraga government says they are ready to take on the challenge to fully inoculate their population. For News 5, Mon Gualvez, we are One News.
Time for an express look at some of the day's big stories. S&P Global Ratings is more upbeat about the country's growth prospects. Due to stronger growth in the third quarter, they hiked their 2021 GDP forecast to 5% from their previous forecast of 4.3%. However, S&P also warns that the Omicron variant may threaten recovery. The government debt swelled to a new record high of 11.97 trillion pesos as of October. This also surpassed the country's debt program for the entire year. Bulk of the borrowing is due to the sale of government securities to shoulder pandemic response. Meanwhile, administration of COVID-19 booster shots to the adult general population has been approved by the FDA. Vaccine brands to be used will follow the same recommendations applied to the priority population. IATF officials said that they hope to start rolling out boosters to all Filipinos within the month.
For the big story in sports, the PBA has formalized a multi-year partnership with the East Asia Super League. Clubs from the PBA will join teams from the Japan B-League, the Korean Basketball League, Chinese Taipei's Plus League, along with a team from Hong Kong. The setup will have the 8 teams split into 2 groups of 4 and play in a round-robin format. The top 2 teams from the standings of each group will then advance to the final 4 and then play sudden death games in the semifinals and championship matches. The competition features a $1 million prize money. Meanwhile, in the NBA, the Phoenix Suns continued their scorching hot run as they extended their streak to a franchise record-tying 17 wins, thwarting the Golden State Warriors 104-96. Despite star guard Devin Booker sitting out most of the game due to an injury, Chris Paul's veteran leadership and stingy defense helped Phoenix to hold the Warriors to below 100 points for the first time this season. Steph Curry, who has been averaging more than 28 points per game, was limited to just 12 points. Elsewhere, the Brooklyn Nets escaped the Knicks in a New York City derby 112-110. James Harden flirted with a triple-double with 34 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists to lead the Nets to the win at home. And flashed on your screen are the other scores from Wednesday's games.
Time for another quick break. When we return, a day after he announced that he's dropping out of the presidential race, Senator Bongo has yet to formalize his withdrawal. Instead of running political ads during campaign season in the Philippines, Google says it would rather promote election literacy and participation. And Barbados becomes the latest country to become a republic, and one of its first actions, declare pop star Rihanna as a national hero. This big stories after the break.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Maricel Halili. More than 24 hours have passed and Senator Bongo has yet to formalize the withdrawal of his presidential bid.
While the lawmaker says his decision is final, some party officials remain hopeful that he will change his mind. Rihanna with this report.
Instead of heading to the COMELEC office in Manila to formally withdraw his presidential bid, Senator Bongo went to Mandaluyong instead. He visited fire victims in Barangay Barangka. This sparked hope within Federalismo ng Dugong Dakilang Samahan or PDDS President Greco Belhica that Go might reconsider his decision.
Nothing is final up to now until the paper has been submitted. So yan, nandito na ako. Hawakan ko na to para hindi na makapunta ng COMELEC. Biro lang, kidding aside. We really hope that, we go through it. We're willing to go through it and put up the fight.
It's not only Belhica. Supporters waited for Go outside the COMELEC office. But the president's longtime aide seems resolute. A day after announcing that he is backing out of the presidential race, Senator Go says he's now at ease with this decision.
Mixed feelings po. Peace of mind, meron. Pero sumasakit rin po ang aking dibdib dahil siyempre may mga supporters nating umaasa. As a matter of principle po, alam mo, kung ano na po yung sinabi ko kahapon, yun na po yung nasa sa loobin ko.
Go says he's in no rush to formalize his decision to drop out of the race. The National Executive Committee of the Kusi camp of PDP-Laban said they respect Go's decision. Faction President Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi says the party has to move. In a letter, PDP-Laban Secretary General Melvin Matibag said they will still campaign for their candidates in the 2022 elections. He also called on members to stay loyal to the party's principles and aspirations. He said they will endorse candidates who are aligned to their fight against illegal drugs, corruption, and criminality. President Duterte, who has backed Go's presidential aspirations from the start, has yet to announce his new bet.
Ayaw kong pangunahan si Pangulong Duterte. Hayaan na lang po natin ang ating Pangulo kung sino yung napupusuan niya. At pagdating ng panahon, ay ako po susuportahan ko po kung sino yung mapipili ni Pangulong Duterte.
Reporting for News 5, Mean Los Baños, we are One News.
Here are the other election stories we're watching. When asked if he is President Duterte's secret candidate, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno reiterated that he would be more than happy to get the endorsement of the chief executive or of any other party for that matter. Senatorial aspirant Jinggoy Estrada announced that he is part of the BBM Sara Unit Team slate. Presidential aspirant Bongbong Marcos and Mayor Sara Duterte also made the endorsement in their Quezon caravan. Recall that Estrada's Puwersa ng Masang Pilipino Party signed an alliance with the unit team. Internet giant Google has announced that it will not run political ads in the Philippines starting February 8 or the official start of the campaign period. This will apply on platforms Google Ads, Display, and Video 360, and shopping platforms that advertise on Google, YouTube, and partner properties. The tech company said it would rather focus on election literacy and participation.
And here are the other big stories around the world. The World Health Organization is warning countries not to impose blanket travel bans over fears of the Omicron variant. WHO is asking countries to apply an evidence-based, informed, and risk-based approach in crafting travel measures. It says a blanket travel ban will not stop the virus. Some 56 countries have already imposed travel bans due to the Omicron variant. And Barbados is the newest country to become a republic. This means they're dropping Britain's Queen Elizabeth as head of state. This also puts an end to England's 400-year rule over the island. Prince Charles approves of the event. He said, saying slavery is a stain in history. Even the 95-year-old Queen herself sent her warmest greetings.
Global pop superstar and entrepreneur Rihanna will continue to quote, "shine bright like a diamond" as Barbados' national hero. The singer's homeland named her a national hero for her music, notable influence, and philanthropy.
May you continue to shine like a diamond and bring honor
to your nation by your words, by your actions, and to do credit wherever you shall go.
In a separate ceremony, she expressed gratitude and took pride at being a Barbadian.
This is a day that I would never ever forget. It's also a day that I never saw coming. Y'all are the true heroes of Barbados, and I take y'all with me wherever I go. I'm so proud to be a Bajan.
The conferment comes as Barbados bids adieu to Queen Elizabeth II and nearly 400 years of British rule. The Queen is replaced by Dame Sandra Mason as their first ever president. For News 5, MJ Marfori, we are One News.
In celebration of World AIDS Day, Twitter has launched a dedicated search prompt for HIV-related information.
The feature is a special tie-up with a non-profit organization in the Philippines, Love Yourself, Inc. On Twitter, you can get information on HIV/AIDS by searching keywords in line with the global epidemic or by clicking on the hashtag #ThereIsHelp. The campaign aims to encourage people to seek help when they need it.
On top of that, there's also a special red ribbon emoji made in partnership with the United Nations to raise awareness on the issue. The feature will appear in your tweet when you use the hashtag World AIDS Day. That's until December 5. Sana ganun lang kadali, no? Sa search mo lang, maintindihan mo na lahat ng bagay.
Yes, pero hindi lahat ng bagay pwedeng gawin yon. Like in politics.
Before we end, I want to ask. So, just to be clear, because you cover politics for News 5, di ba? Si Senator Bongo, in-announce niya kahapon, but he has not yet actually withdrawn, so he's still a candidate.
He is still a candidate. He's still an aspirant until personally siya magpunta to COMELEC to file his withdrawal. So hanggang din niya ginagawa yun, he's still an aspirant.
But not only that, if you look at today, was he still behaving like a candidate?
At kasama niya yung mga senatorial aspirant ng PDP-Laban.
Okay, sige, we'll just have to wait.
Yeah, let's wait and see. 24 days to go before Christmas. Tuloy pa rin ang Pasko. And that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250.
Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. Mask on.
Wash hands.
And stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And on behalf of Gretchen Ho, I'm Maricel Halili. We are One News. Good evening.
Pasko.